So it's been a few days since the airing of one of the most shocking episodes of Attack on Titan to date. It shows a different side to the story, but at the same time, it shows how much Eren, our MC of this story of Attack on Titan, has changed. And it's just unreal to see those final moments of the latest episode of Attack on Titan when Eren is having his conversation with Reiner. When he's just sitting down in the chair and Reiner's sitting down, and you could just see, you could feel the atmosphere, the immense pressure from that entire scene, and the voice acting of that scene was outright incredible. But more on that in a minute. But the point, though, is that seeing Eren confront Reiner, and then Reiner confronting Eren, or at least having to deal with Eren confronting him, is probably one of the best pieces of storytelling of Attack on Titan to date. And the reason for that is because it's been something that has been building up for a long time. Ever since we found out about, the traitor reveal of Bert, Annie, and also Reiner, we've always wondered, or I think many have wondered, if Eren would ever be able to understand their viewpoints. And we got a little bit more of that in the previous season of Attack on Titan. And now, with this episode, and also with the entirety of Season 4, technically, we've got to see from the other side, and see kind of what the Eldians that are on the mainland are dealing with, and why they view everyone that's a part of Eren's group as demons, people that need to be completely eradicated. It all makes perfect sense now. There is so much we have learned in these past few episodes that really, I think, open up a lot of people's eyes, because this time, we know both sides. We have seen both sides of the story. We know the horrific nature of seeing people just overwhelmed by Titans. Titans rushing in and devouring people. Humanity losing their lands, being forced to fall back behind the, the wall. Corrupt people a part of, behind the wall. The royals and nobles and all that doing corrupt things. And then you're seeing traitors come in and just kill your people for no reason. This is something that we have seen firsthand through our character's eyes, our main character and their perspective on the island of Paradise. But we now have seen the perspective of the mainlanders, seeing kind of how they view the people on the island, how they've been indoctrinated, but also how they feel like, they need to do this to be able to have a place for their own self. They have been told that this is right, etc. And so both sides are at war with each other because they've both been indoctrinated in their own way. They have things to fight for. They're both enemies in each other's eyes, and one of them needs to give for the other can survive. That's basically what these episodes have tried to show us, is that now there's not really a side you can really pick. Because normally you would say, okay, you want to pick Eren's side because you've seen what, Reiner's entire side has done. But we've also seen that Reiner's side has a lot of innocent individuals, people that don't deserve what is obviously about to happen. And that's the whole point of this, is showing what Reiner's group did and now what Eren is doing with his group there. And it's going to be potentially the exact same thing, or maybe even worse. So it's a really nice piece of storytelling. Well, honestly, one of the best pieces of storytelling for me personally for the entirety of the series. I really love this scene because it gives so much context to the struggle Reiner went through, him interacting with individuals and growing to like them and realizing that they're actually not that bad whatsoever. And then Eren also admits that he realizes that they're not all that bad. There's a lot of good people, and he understands Reiner's perspective. But at the same time, he's like, I also understand why he continued to do it, because you have to fight for your people. You have to fight for the ones you care about, and so you must continue to press forward. I love that piece of dialogue. It basically emphasizes that Eren, he feels bad, he feels suffering, he understands what Reiner goes through, but at the same time, he's like, we can't stop. We got to keep going forward. We can't stop where we're at. We've gone too far. We got to keep going. It's incredible. It's easily a scene I've been looking forward to greatly ever since, I read it in the manga. But let's go a few steps further. So let's actually talk about Reiner's psyche for a second and kind of what was going on in the latest episode. So Reiner, he's obviously been suffering. He's had, flashbacks, PTSD, dreams, suffering, not really telling the whole story of what he experienced on the mainland. We know that he had kind of like a split personality to be able to cope with everything that happened on Paradise. He created the warrior personality, and he also created his own personality that was a part of the island, intermingling with the inhabitants there. We know about the two different personalities and how he was using that to not just break apart entirely, and how Bert constantly saw his best friend just losing it on the island, and which caused him a lot of grief and suffering. And Reiner, ever since the atrocities he committed, he always felt like he should be judged for it. He doesn't necessarily seek forgiveness. He wants to be judged. And that's clear as day when you see this episode. That when he sits down in front of Eren and he's like, bows on the ground, he's like, get rid of me, just end me, kill me right now, I don't want to deal with this no more. He's like, just put me down, make me suffer, make me actually die to that person that I made suffer so much. I deserve it. That's basically what Reiner was saying. He's like, I deserve everything that is coming to me, just in me. And I love how Reiner, his character, has really just been ripped apart. He used to look like this very strong individual, someone that looks like he has a strong mind, strong body, he can accomplish anything. That's obviously the presentation that the story gave you early on in the series, but when you see him here, he's very broken. He is no longer what he once was, and he wants to be done. He's tired of it. He's tired of all the suffering, the deaths, and all that. He doesn't want to be on either side. He just is done. He has done too much. His hands are too soiled. He wants to wipe them, and that's it. So it's cool, and I love also, like, Eren's mentality as well, to it. He's like, I'm probably going to be like you, but I'm going to keep doing it because it needs to be done. So just, yeah, I've said enough. It's great. But okay, so let's actually get into some things that I saw on social media. So apparently there is individuals complaining about this latest episode. And the only complaints I could potentially find is nitpicking complaints about either animation or some OST selection for certain scenes. And personally, as someone that, has been looking at this, adaptation, Season 4 of Attack on Titan with a very wide eye, trying to see how it's going because, Studio MAPPA, I really don't have any complaints about Studio MAPPA's adaptation of Attack on Titan. In fact, I think that this is the strongest Attack on Titan has technically been. It could be definitely due to the source content just being so strong and so good from the manga that it's really helping with this anime season, but I really do think that Studio MAPPA is putting a lot of good work into Attack on Titan. It's clear as day when you just see this episode alone. There's so much emotion in Reiner and Eren's face-off, even with very few words and just the deadpan expressions of them. There is definitely so much there to really just deconstruct and rip apart. And I feel like those that are complaining about certain animation being off is obviously neglecting to talk about the animation problems that were from previous seasons, from like Season 3, Season 1, Season 2. There was a lot of animation problems and art problems throughout those seasons. I know it's hard to realize that because it always usually looks good, but there is usually problems underlying. If you look closely, you will find them, and that's kind of what's happening with Season 4. People are now trying not to avoid or look over the problems. They're wanting to nitpick at every little detail that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But on top of that, the OST as well being complained about. Now, that is another one. So apparently, the OST was not good for this episode. And I was just like, wait a minute, what? Am I out of the loop here? Is my taste in music bad for anime? Because the music song choice for just Eren and Reiner was incredible, and even the scenes that didn't actually have music, I think, were actually better than the scenes with the music, because it had this very, I guess, a tense atmosphere where you didn't know what was going to happen. I felt like the lack of music really gave a lot to certain scenes, especially towards the end. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't really understand the complaints that people are having, and the only complaints I actually could see people having is worrying about the employees at Studio MAPPA, because they're potentially getting overworked with everything they're working on, Jujutsu Kaisen, this, and, also Chainsaw Man coming out, so that's the one thing to actually be concerned about, personally, but, yeah. So anyways, let's get back on topic. This series was trending, by the way, days before the episode officially aired, and the actual tag that was trending on was Declaration of War, which is interesting as is because of, everything. Don't want to get too deep into that. But anyways, basically, seeing that tag to it, it makes a lot of sense when you see the final scene of the episode. Eren appearing out of the ground and all that, and you just see him when he appears, that the person that was given this very, strong speech, trying to rally everyone against Paradise, was just crushed right in front of them. It's very reminiscent to what Reiner and Bert did when they brought down the wall, and everybody got, destroyed and ransacked, in the beginning of the series. That's kind of what's being shown there, is that a lot of innocent people are probably about to die. You have these reporters, you have innocent civilians there, Eldians, people that are actually Eldians, not even the Marlians and all that have done all the atrocities to Eren's people. So just when you see all of this, it's like, whoa, the tag that this episode was associated with makes so much more sense. And even the actual poster, the teaser poster that was revealed a while back for this season makes a lot of sense when you see Eren, his Titan, like, looking over a building and all that. It looks like he's looking down. It makes a lot more sense now because of what just happened. It's getting to be very interesting. And the question now is how many of Eren's comrades are actually there? I mean, is Levi there? Is Mikasa there? Who is actually there? I mean, will we actually get to see Armin and maybe use his Colossal Titan? Because we know that he has the Colossal Titan now thanks to the events at the end of the previous season. So we'll see where it's gonna go. But it's a good season. This is a really good season. This is a good episode of Attack on Titan. It is so hype. It's so emotional. And honestly, I have personally no complaints about it. Honestly, the only complaint I could actually say I have about this actually is that I need more episodes. But alas, I do want the employees to have some rest. They deserve it. They're putting in so much passion and love into this project. It's clear as day. Because even though a company can be forced many projects, it still is up to the animators to really showcase how much love they have for a project. You can see it in so many different anime that air each individual season. Which company cares about one series the most, and what animators care about that project more. I mean, ReZero, another example. Yeah, I know I bring up ReZero a lot, but it's a really good example. And when you see stuff like this with Attack on Titan, it's also another good example that these animators, they love Attack on Titan. They don't think it's a throwaway series. They actually think this series deserves as much attention and effort as they could possibly have, even though they probably already have a tight schedule working on stuff like Jujutsu Kaisen. So yeah, nothing, it's enough said, like, about the entirety of everything going on. But yeah, I think that's pretty much about it, though. Just, the Reiner stuff is sad. It makes you really feel for him. It makes you feel like, man, this man is just suffering. Like, he just wants to die. This man just wants to be done, but Eren's obviously really not giving it to him, which, by the way, actually, before I wrap up this video, there is something that does need to be mentioned, and that is Eren's ploy to trap Reiner underneath the building. I don't know how many noticed that, but he did it very subtly. When he drew Reiner down below, underground, underneath the stadium, he did that because if Reiner was to transform into the Armored Titan, he would decimate the entire front stage and would hurt a lot of people, and so he couldn't really do that. And also with Falco being there, he couldn't do it either because Falco would potentially get injured. And Eren wouldn't necessarily die, just Falco would die. So that was kind of like a hostage situation. But then on top of that, you have Eren, he did a mistake to where, like, he hurt his hand, and we know that's how Titan transformations are. So when he was like that, he was like, look, I could transform at any point right now, so sit down and talk. If you don't, there's going to be a lot of people that are potentially going to die here. So just, it's crazy, and I love the little details of showing Eren's character and how much he has changed, matured, and grown very darkened and calloused on his heart, especially within this episode. But I'll leave it at that. I love you guys. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.